Time for yet another ND3 comparison. This is my buddy Alan's ND3 RF in this beautiful aero gray against my ND3 soft top. They both have the Brembo BBS Recaro package. Now the RF is more expensive by a couple grand MSRP, but more importantly, Alan has done more mods. He spent about 7 to 8 grand in mods. I've done about half of that on my car, and if you exclude the roll bar, it's actually going to be less than half of what Alan has spent. What I'm most curious today is to discover how Alan's mods, full mod list as always down in the description, compares to my mods. He has optimized his car for canyon use exclusively. He doesn't do any track days, whereas mine is dual duty, street and track. In terms of mods, Alan has Sakebomb Öhlins coilovers with a 6K front, 3K rear, and the Sakebomb kit is long stroke in the rear. But keep in mind, the OEM Miata stroke in the rear is 180 millimeters. The Sakebomb, I think, goes up to 110, 111, whereas the regular Öhlins is like 90. Mine, on the other hand, has the Techna coilovers with sport springs. That's 8K front, 4K rear. And those are also almost half the price, like $1,700 to $1,800 from 949 Racing, Supermiata, whereas the Sakebomb Öhlins Road and Track are going to run you about 3K. On his car, he has Cusco front and rear sway bars, front and rear strut bar, and a power under brace, whereas mine has no additional bracing and no sway bars yet. I have the 17x8 Koenig Hypergram bronze wheels wrapped in RT 615K plus tires and a 215 section width, whereas Alan has 17x8 Volk ZE40s wrapped in 225/40/17 Continental Extreme Contact Force. That's the only 200 tread wear tire you're getting with that 40 ratio rather than 45. And he wants it to be a little thinner to, of course, keep it at the same OEM wheel size so that you're not having issues with the acceleration, the speedometer, things like that. He also has a Racingbeat midpipe, which removed one of the cats, an ND1 exhaust because it's apparently a little bit slightly lighter and a little bit louder, and also changed his sound tube. So underneath the hood, you see these sound tubes that come from the factory, but they have foam that kind of muffles a bit of the induction note into the cabin, whereas he has put an aftermarket one that doesn't have any foam, so it's going to be louder. My mod list is shorter. I have Miata Speed stainless steel brake lines, G-Lock R10 and R8 brake pads front to rear. And another thing I've done, helpful for taller drivers, is I've lowered the seat here. This is now lowered by 2.25 inches, the max you can do on a Miata, thanks to Jazz seat lowering brackets. And it's fixed, although you can get a rail, but it'll be a little bit higher up, at least in the front. And I also have a seat back raising kit, so this whole back moves further up so that it aligns better for taller drivers. I haven't even taken my AIM Solo 2 DL off yet from my last track day. As you can see, this is tracked. I should also mention this Guardian Design 330mm wheel, which is the right size in a small car like this versus the 367 that comes stock. Already getting coilovers was such a money mod, and the guys at Supermiata, they know what they're doing. They make the Zetas, the top coilovers you can get for the Miata. This is their more entry-level line because the Zetas are going to be almost twice as expensive. These don't require the same level of maintenance. They're not aluminum though, they're going to be steel, a little bit heavier, not quite as high performance, but if you want to do street and track, these are what you want. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that Miatas are overrated vehicles, especially stock, straight from factory. They have significant shortcomings, but when you start modifying them, then you see them truly shine because the fundamentals are there. Let's give you a pull. And those fundamentals are the double wishbone front, multi-link rear suspension, lightweight, 2,300 pounds with the soft top, about 100 pounds heavier with the RF. Really excellent E-Pass steering rack that's been revised for the ND3. I actually wouldn't have even considered the Mazda Miata, the ND2, because steering is something that's very important to me, but this has been a substantial improvement. The asymmetric LSD as well with the ND3 that helps you with more stability as you enter corners and more rotation on throttle as you exit corners. And of course, this transmission that is just so sublime to use. A nice direct connection. It's the one part of the car that feels the most expensive compared to anything else. It's such a joy to use. You can double clutch downshift, no learning curve. Although I will admit the throttle response can feel a little bit muted, and it does, you know, if you hop out of a Porsche or some other car, you may need to blip the throttle just a little bit harder in your rev matches. But if you're targeting driving pleasure, oh yeah, especially with these coilovers, such a much more immediate front end. Wasn't able to push it there as much as I wanted to, but you can really get the car to even rotate right on throttle. You gotta be mindful of the weight transfer because the car is low on power, only 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque from the naturally aspirated 2-liter inline-4 Skyactiv engine. And the other beautiful thing about the Miata is that because it has such good fundamentals, because it is so relatively affordable, admittedly paying high 30s for a Miata does seem like a lot, which is the MSRP now. If you want to go with the Brembo BBS recovery package, which adds $4,500 to the MSRP. But it's this blank canvas, and just like how Alan here is making this optimized for canyons, I'm optimizing this for dual duty. And anytime you try to do dual duty, the car is going to be a little bit compromised. So on a road like this, is it as comfortable as stock? Obviously not. I have, again, 8K front, 4K rear spring rates. That is the sport option from Tecna. You can go for the Grand Touring, the GT, which is going to be 6K, 3K. But where I have the adjustable damper set close to the middle setting, a little bit stiffer in the front, a little bit softer in the rear, these find a very good balance of not being punishing with the ride quality, but giving you far better body control and immediacy with your inputs, which gives you more confidence as you start pushing the car. And now that I have the coilovers where I want them to be, now I'm gonna add sway bars. And you can watch this video right up here where I explain why you do not want to start with sick, aggressive sway bars on stock suspension. And what you instead want to do is start with coilovers, get that dialed in, and then you add the appropriate sway bars, which are not going to be as aggressive because, again, your suspension is stiffer. As I keep modifying this car and taking you guys on this journey, owning an ND3 Miata, modifying it for dual duty, taking it on track, reviewing it against other ND examples. By the way, if you have an ND you want to compare against mine, fill out the form on JabalInCars.com. But as I'm going through this journey of ND3 ownership, I gotta say I'm liking the car more and more as I start modifying these things. Like comfort was a big issue for me, but now I have the seat lowering bracket and the seat back raising kit, which has helped a lot. Also, I wouldn't have been able to track without that because I'm 6'1", and there we go. Just nice one compression, no additional motion over these larger bumps. But I'm really curious to see how Alan's ND3 compares because he's done some things to address the sound issues. The engine is nice and smooth, it's very linear, it's happy to rev out, but it's a little bit too quiet. And you actually can't even hear it on track with your windows down, which is the norm for safety reasons. So let's hop in and see how Alan's ND3 RF compares. Now it's time for Alan's ND3 RF. Gotta love the little aesthetic mods he's done, like this black lip spoiler. The tips on the exhaust is just the tips because it's actually a stock ND1 exhaust. The forged rays are looking great. I think the card looks incredibly sharp in this aero gray color. I actually drove an aero gray ND3 before, which you can find linked below. And when I was driving that around town for a few days, I got so many compliments on just the color combo. I think it had a leather interior as well. It was a Grand Touring spec. Interior is very familiar, although you'll notice different shift knob. The steering wheel is also the OEM steering wheel, which I find It feels like a bus, man. It's so big. It's 367 millimeters in a tiny car like this. And also the pedals are aftermarket. You can see the gas is a little bit wider than stock, and these are made out of metal. And Alan has good taste because this is the same Course Motorsport phone mount that I use, although mine is their upgraded version that also wirelessly charges the phone. But bam, you can find yours linked below with 15% off if you use my link. I feel way too high in this car because we're at the stock seat and my head is literally, I can't even fit a finger between my head and the top. Now the RF also has a lower roof line, so I would not be able to track this with the helmet. And without the seat back raising kit, if you're taller, it's not going to be quite as comfortable as well. Hear that induction note a little bit louder, not as much of a difference as I was expecting though. I thought it would be really substantial. It is subtle. Don't like extra thick throttle pedals because I think it actually makes heel toe a little bit unnatural, but I must be the weird one because a lot of people do it. Brakes are quite a bit softer. This is stock brakes, stock pads, stock fluid, etc. So with my stainless steel brake lines and the upgraded Castrol SRF brake fluid and the G-Lock R10, R8 brake pads, that's obviously going to be a little bit more confidence inspiring as you enter corners. But the chassis rigidity here you can feel is improved, and I'm not sure what is actually the cause of that because there are multiple factors. Number one, the RF with the top up already has increased torsional rigidity, but then Alan has also done some chassis bracing. So it's a combination of those factors, and it's noticeable. The reason being, the Miata was never optimized for having high torsional rigidity. It was all about being as light as possible. The torsional rigidity is like 7,000, at least on the soft top. If you look at a Cayman, a Boxster, even an S2000, those are all like twice the torsional rigidity, like 13,000, maybe 12,000 to 15,000 range. So these little improvements are noticeable, and I want to actually do some similar mods to my car to increase the torsional rigidity, but I'm first going to give you a pull. Because when I actually added the roll bar, which increases some of the rigidity in the back, I could actually notice more cowl shake in the front, which I found interesting, and it does bother me, so stay tuned for those mods coming soon. The steering wheel being larger here, again, it feels unnatural for the car, but the good news is that because it is a firmer material, you actually still get a very good amount of feedback. It doesn't get muted in the same way that my Guardian Design steering wheel, which I think is too soft. It doesn't need to be that soft. It actually reduces some of the finer communication that you want from the steering wheel. Although the size of my steering wheel, I think, is far more appropriate for a small roadster like this. Shifter as well, it doesn't quite have the same heavier feel of the stock ND3 shifter. It feels a little bit slicker here, so I'm guessing this is a heavier shift knob. I have also tracked my car, and I haven't yet done the transmission fluid. That'll be coming soon, so that can also influence the transmission feel. Oh yeah, the communication at the front end, just beautiful. Tells you exactly what's going on, how much grip you have. Oh, a little bit of rotation with that LSD in the rear. Oh, beautiful. Now the biggest thing here, the biggest difference is of course the suspension. And the Öhlins Road and Track with the Grand Touring spring race of 6K front and 3K rear, they're far more compliant. And if you wanted to take a stock Miata and make it feel a little sportier without really compromising much of the ride quality, these would be the move. However, these coilovers with the softer spring rates and even with the added sway bar, there is significantly reduced sharpness to your inputs, to the front end response. And I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for a lot of people, especially if you're just driving 6 or 7 tenths on Canyon. But when you start pushing it a little bit harder, I do think it might give you the same issues that a stock Miata gives you. Oh, dude, I just love how you can get a little bit of yaw in second gear. It's just such a fun feeling, and it's so progressive and predictable in the Miata. Even though it has a tiny short wheelbase, they've really tuned this properly. It's very approachable. Now, as we stop here for traffic, one thing I want to point out is how people adjust their mirrors. So the center rear view is pretty obvious, but the side, you'll notice that Alan put these convex mirrors so you get greater visibility, which is cool. But a lot of people drive like this, where they can see so much of their own car. That doesn't actually help you. What you want to do is align the edge of your rear view here with the inner edge of your side view, so that you're actually increasing the visibility and the function of your mirrors without having big blind spots. It's actually the correct way to adjust your rear views, but a lot of us don't learn that when we're younger, when we're doing driving school, and we always have it up against the car because, oh, I need to see my car to know, you know, where everything is. But that's a false belief. A lot of that higher frequency chatter with the softer road and track coilovers is reduced. But as you push the car, you can still feel a good amount of lean. The dive and squat as well. Obviously, sway bars aren't going to help you with that. That comes down to just your suspension. I mean, the geometry, anti-dive, anti-squat can help, but when you're taking an established vehicle and modifying it, it's primarily going to be your suspension. What are your spring rates, right? Driving this car makes me see how big of a difference in comfort there is. Like, I'm already getting some back pain and discomfort. Lowering the seat and getting that seat back raising kit made a huge difference. Got some turkeys here that are giving me PTSD from my CO6 review, where I had to thread the needle between two of them. This big bump here glides over that real effortlessly. A lot better than in my car, right? More comfortable, but the trade-off is going to be your responsiveness mid-corner and as you're pushing the car, corner entry, corner exit. So, in conclusion, I think what Alan has done here is awesome, right? In terms of just performance mods, before the PPF and the ceramic coating and all that stuff, it's about $4,000 more, plus going RF versus soft top is, I think, another $2,000 more. So an extra $6K, it is more comfortable. It's going to be more quiet on the highway because you have the RF. The first thing that you have to decide, though, is are you going to do RF versus soft top? And if you're going to track it, you're generally going to go for the soft top because you're saving weight and then also fitting in with a helmet, roll bar, etc. And the second question is, what's your ultimate use case? So in my case, because I do track my car and because I do want dual duty, I am okay with a firmer suspension setup because of that compromise. Yes, it's going to be less comfortable on the road. Slightly, it's actually not a huge, massive difference, but noticeably stiffer on the road. But that makes it so much more enjoyable to drive on the track. Whereas Alan here is going full-on street build. And for what his intended use case is, I think this is a strong example. The wheels are going to be about $1,000 more expensive. Actually, more than that normally, but he got these for a steal, $2,000 for the whole set. And since these are forged, lightweight, it is going to help with unsprung mass and with responsiveness. But again, with a softer suspension, you're not going to notice that quite as much. My friends, let me know what you think. Which one would you choose? Leave a comment down below. Is this car worth $6 grand more than mine? Or would you choose completely different mods than either what me or Alan have done? My friends, much love, and I'll see you all in that next one.